Killed by chicken bones, woke up and turned into a little yellow chicken. Evolved from a young yellow chicken. Congratulations to the host, they have successfully evolved into omnivorous chicken. Awakening talent ability, meat fragrance, Shan. Congratulations to the host for successfully evolving into a fighting chicken. Awakening talent skill, chicken blood, tonifying yang, Shan. Congratulations to the host for successfully evolving into the Fuqi Chicken. Awakening talent skills tens of thousands of years without any living creatures, the soaring thunder disaster was easily overcome by a little yellow chicken just as a group of giants gathered in the entire cultivation world, respectfully inquiring about the key points of crossing the tribulation. The little yellow chicken stood on the high platform, cleared its throat, and took a deep breath. Oh, oh, oh. This book is a non-conventional beast novel that tells the story of a chicken winning the way and a dog ascending to heaven. Keywords of the novel. Cultivation starts from a chicken without pop-ups, cultivation starts from a chicken. Download the complete set of TXT, cultivation starts from a chicken. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Rebirth into a chicken. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Rebirth into a chicken. The sunshine is bright and the wind is sunny. In front of the Tian family's old house in Shan City, there is an old tree with a crooked neck. And under this old tree, at this moment, there is a short and chubby little girl sitting. I saw her lying on a big stone, with one hand supporting her chin and the other hand resting on a cute chicken head, rubbing back and forth. Get your hands off me. Don't touch my head. Touch me and you desperately again. Do you believe it or not? Hey hey hey. Be light. Be light. The little chick protested with righteous words, but as soon as he spoke, his words turned into a series of chattering. That's right, this chick contains the soul of an adult man inside. His name is Shan. 2 hours ago, Shan was sitting in a McDonald's restaurant eating fried chicken. Finger-sucking authentic chicken, the latest flavor, the kind with mustard sauce. Shan always likes mustard sauce, so much so that he ordered 5 pieces of finger-sucking original chicken on the spot and sat in the corner of the restaurant, eating them one by one. 1 piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces, until he finishes the 4th piece and tries hard to start eating the 5th piece. A small and sharp bone got stuck in his throat, causing him to spit out blood on the spot and lie down on the table. Because he was sitting in a corner and lying face inward, Shan finally stopped breathing for half an hour before being discovered. When the 120 ambulance arrived and dragged him onto the car, Shan had already cooled down. Then he was reborn, on a chick that had just broken its shell for less than 2 minutes. Looking around at the bright yellow chicks, Shan panicked and chattered incessantly. After shouting for less than 2 minutes, he felt very tired. As soon as his eyes closed, he fell asleep. When he opened his eyes again, he found a huge face suddenly pressed against him. Scared him to the point of chirping. Perhaps due to the shouting, the face immediately shifted its attention away from Shan, reached out, and grabbed it. Like catching a chick. Oh no, it's just catching chicks. Feeling the weightlessness of his claws hanging in the air, Shan was very frightened and opened his mouth in anger, saying, "Sleeping trough. What are you doing? Release. Release." But as soon as the voice came out, it turned into chatter, chatter. Be quiet. Stop shouting, be good. A deafening sound rang in Shan's ear. He looked up and the appearance of his huge face slowly appeared in his entire vision. This is a girl of 7 or 8 years old, with cute ponytails, dirty face, and 2 chicken feathers sticking to her bulging cheeks. I saw her hiding in the corner of the wall, watching from side to side, then bowing her head and booing to Shan in a milky voice. Shoo, little chicken, be good, don't make a sound, be obedient. Shan looked at the big snot that was getting closer and closer to him in terror, measured it, and finally obediently closed his mouth. Afterwards, Shan was carried by the little girl all the way, and by the time he regained his sight, he had already stayed on this big rock and had been teased until now. Shame! Shame! Lu Shan sat obediently on the stone, enjoying the caress of the little girl's fingers. He squinted his eyes comfortably and chattered. The shame of the old Lu family. Ah, be gentle. Shame. Ah, yes, yes, that's it. That's it. Apply more force, apply more force. At this moment, a loud shout came from somewhere. Tianma. Where are you? Come back for dinner. Tianma. Hey, here we go. The snotty girl grabbed Lu Shan and ran around, but just a few steps away, she seemed to remember something and quickly stuffed Lu Shan into her collar. Lu Shan, who had not yet realized anything, immediately felt that the world was dark, followed by constant turbulence, making him unable to distinguish everything around him. After an unknown amount of time, when the turbulence stopped, he was grabbed from his clothes and placed on a soft ground. Oh, no, it's on the fabric. It looks like it's on the bed. Little chicken, stay here and don't move. Tianma's creamy voice reminded Lu Shan in his ear. Later, after Tianma's 2 heavy blows to the head, he saw Tianma holding a white, yellowed cloth and covering his forehead. It's getting dark again. Waiting for the footsteps to pass, the world will be quiet. At this moment, Lu Shan finally had time to quiet down and reflect on what was happening to him now. In his memory, he was still a McDonald's chicken-eating finger-sucking authentic chicken, and then he ate a bone that got stuck in his throat, fainting from the pain. Then, when he opened his eyes, he came to the chicken coop and became such a little chick. Hey! Lu Shan turned his head to look at the 2 tender yellow chicken wings in his left and right hands, then lowered his head to look at the 2 slender chicken claws, and couldn't help but sigh deeply. He has also read many of the time travel plots in online novels, such as going back to the past and becoming emperors, princes, and nobles, dominating that world. What time travel becomes a wizard, Superman, metamorphosis steel, Super Mary? No, there are also things like transmigration to become divine beasts, exotic beasts, and so on. All of these are good, but why did you cross into a little yellow chicken that may not even have 1 combat power when you switched to yourself? Still the kind of domesticated little yellow chicken that hasn't been born for 2 days. Oh my goodness. Earth. Lu Shan couldn't help but shout out. Unfortunately, the voice changed from his sharp mouth to chatting. This has made Lu Shan even more frustrated. Fortunately, he is the kind of person with strong adaptability. After a brief period of frustration, entanglement, and pain, he calmly began to try to accept his new identity as a little chick. Anyway, chickens can't live for many years. Lu Shan remembers where he found it before, saying that the lifespan of chickens is 3 to 5 years, but for a normal domesticated chicken, which one can live up to 3 years. Even before, there was a report that all the chickens in the McDonald's chicken were instant chickens. A quick chicken that has only been around for 45 days from birth to serving. Thinking of the possibility of being pushed to the table to make food, Lu Shan's heart was filled with sadness. Although he loves to eat finger-sucking authentic chicken, it doesn't mean he accepts being eaten. No, no, no. Being a poultry, Lu Shan can accept it. But if someone pushes it onto the table as food, he can't accept this result no matter what. Escape. Be sure to escape. Escape from this mansion. Avoid the human world. By then, with the knowledge of one's past life as a person, one can survive no matter what. Yes. Ending one's life and going to bed is one's goal. With this plan in mind, Lu Shan stood up straight and tried to squeeze out. In no time, he saw the sky again. But at this moment, a pair of staring big eyes suddenly appeared in his line of sight, giving him a big surprise. Grass. Where did the flower cat come from? It scared me to death. Lu Shan couldn't help but flap his chest with his wings, muttering subconsciously. Meow. The owner with big eyes let out a deep voice. Wait. Cat. Shan was so excited that something suddenly came to his mind. He turned his head and crawled into the white cloth just now. Unfortunately, his little chick is not as fast as a flower cat. When he had just turned his body and shook it before taking 2 steps, a dark shadow covered his vision. The next second, Mount Lu will rotate in a spiral. He was successfully taken into his mouth by this flower cat lying trough. Lying trough. Sleeping trough. Uncle cat. Grandpa cat. Cat ancestor. I'm still young. Let me go, okay? Not tasty. Want to eat until I grow up, okay? Shan begged for mercy in a fancy way, but unfortunately, due to the language barrier of the species, begging for mercy was ineffective. So, he was successfully picked up by the flower cat and left the bed. Just as Shan couldn't break free from the flower cat's mouth and felt that he was destined to die, a strange voice suddenly appeared in his mind. Weakness is original sin, only by living can you become stronger. Automatic chicken hanging system, starting to start, system prompt. Target. Fan, 23.59.59, Shan. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Kill it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Kill it, host confirmation. Shan, start generating property panel. Name. Shan race. Chicken bloodline. 3 yellow chicken level. None, countdown to promotion. 23, 58, 55, strength. 0.1, a little force is about 10 kilograms, less than 0.1 is ignored, constitution. 0.1, constitution includes endurance and body resistance, etc. Agility. 0.1, the top 10 points can provide a maximum speed of 10 meters per second, and for every 10-point increase in attribute points, the speed increases by 1 meter per second, talent skills. Meaty aroma, as a local chicken, it has a strong meat texture that is different from cage-raised chickens, and the taste is excellent, 3 yellow chickens. Meat fragrance. Countdown. Fan. What is fan? Versailles. What kind of thing? Shan looked at the attribute panel in front of him in a daze. Hiss. Just as he was still wondering what was going on in his mind, a sharp pain suddenly spread to his mind. He lifted his head and looked up to find. The sharp teeth of this flower cat have penetrated his wings, and the pain is transmitted from his right wing. Damn it. What's going on? What are you doing with that number? Let's first escape from the cat's mouth before we talk. Otherwise, not to mention those 24-hour numbers, it is still unknown whether Nima can survive for 24 minutes. But he realized through a few seconds of twisting his body that his confrontation with the flower cat in terms of strength was ineffective. The more twisted, the stronger the stinging sensation on the wings. Seeing that the flower cat had already taken itself out of that room, with the blessing of survival desire, Shan let go and shouted. Kill the chicken. Help. Hurry up and help the chicken. God. Jesus. Our Virgin Mary. Buddha. However, no matter how much he chattered, no immortal appeared along the way to save him. Just as Shan was about to despair, his screams were finally heard by a middle-aged man with a broad physique. Wife. When did our family raise chickens? No. Where did you see it from? Oh, look at the egg yolk in your mouth. The middle-aged man's voice fell, and the next second, bang 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 bang. Daddy. Where's the egg yolk? The middle-aged man looked puzzled, but he still pointed his fingers under the table. Tianma looked in the direction and sure enough, under the dining table, the flower cat was lying there, pouting and wriggling, unsure of what it was doing. Egg yolk. You're going to die. Tianma rushed towards the dining table like a madman, knocked open the chair, and frightened the flower cat. She ran from under the table to the wicker chair, holding a yellow object in her mouth, watching Tianma with caution. Sure enough, it's on its mouth. Tianma was afraid that the flower cat would escape, and she couldn't catch it herself. She was also worried about the life of her little yellow chicken. After weighing the two, she anxiously shouted. Dad! Mom! Help me catch it. So, within the next 3 minutes, this family staged a scene of 3 people and 1 cat causing a big fuss at home. But after making a fuss, Tianma ultimately managed to snatch Shan from the flower cat's mouth. Looking at the chicken cub that had just been placed on the table and couldn't even stand steadily, Tianma felt her heart breaking. Woo-woo, the little chicken is good, it's my fault. Woo-woo. Tianma had red eyes and comforted the chattering little yellow chicken's head with her hands. Little did they know that at this moment, Shan was cursing his mother. I'll go to your uncle's 4-legged cat. Dare to bite me. Come again. I'll kill you. Chatting. MMP. People fall in Pingyang and are bullied by cats. Gigi. Don't give me a chance. G. And you. Shan looked up at Tianma's fingertips in anger. Although Shan was still young and powerless at the time, Tianma was also young. Her collagen-filled skin was pricked like this, and Tianma's originally red eyes finally shed tears. Looking at Tianma, who had already cried, Shan was angry and said. Cheer. You little rascal. Labor and management almost hiccuped and didn't cry. You cry like a hammer. However, Tianma couldn't understand anything and still looked at him with red eyes. Shan used to annoy girls crying in front of him in his previous life. Cannot be coaxed or scolded. So his tone changed. Jick. Alright. Damn it. It's not your fault again. Don't cry. While chattering, she also rubbed Tianma's hand with her own beak to show comfort. At this moment, the voice of a middle-aged man suddenly appeared in Shan's ears, attracting his gaze to follow the sound. I saw a middle-aged man with an ordinary face, a broad and sturdy physique, dressed in navy blue linen clothes, looking at Shan Dao with a puzzled gaze. Where did this chicken come from? Picked it up. Tianma wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes and said confidently. The middle-aged man clearly didn't believe Tianma's words and turned his head to ask the beautiful woman next to him who was serving a meal. Wife, whose chickens have been hatching in our yard recently? I'm not sure, maybe it was raised by a servant from a certain courtyard. The beautiful woman answered casually, putting a small bowl of rice in her hand and handing it to Tianma, while also reminding her. Baby, let someone return it after eating it. I don't. Tianma refused decisively. Be obedient, you can't keep such a big little chick alive, and it's not obedient yet. It's not fun. I don't. Tianma's attitude remained resolute and could not be refuted at all. To be honest, Shan also doesn't want to go back to that chicken coop. Small, not breathable, and with a lot of chicks inside, I have to grab food. The most crucial thing is that what those chicks eat is not even as good as pig food. I haven't enjoyed a good life in my previous life, but I've been a chicken in this life. With such a short lifespan, why can't I just enjoy it? For the big house. For the sake of delicious food. In order to have a free nanny. To live safely before reaching adulthood. Shan decided what he should do. So, he blinked his eyes and shook them to reach Tianma's hand, using his furry head to start rubbing against her non-stop. Look. Why is it not obedient? Faced with Lu Shan's shameless acting skills, the beautiful woman had no choice but to dig up a large bowl of rice and hand it to the middle-aged man. The child's father, your daughter, you come. Upon hearing these words, Tianma also turned her head and looked at the middle-aged man with a face that shared life and death with the chicken cub. Dad. Okay. Take care of yourself. But declare in advance that you are responsible for taking care of yourself and don't cry when you die. As soon as these words were spoken, Tianma instantly became overjoyed. Yeah. Long live Daddy. After shouting, he came to the middle-aged man's side and gave him a heavy kiss on the face. Then he turned around and ran into the room, shouting as he ran. Dad, help me watch over some chicks, I'll go find a bowl for them. As Tianma entered the room, the young woman complained somewhat. My child's father, our child will take the preschool entrance examination in a few days and then go to school. Aren't you causing trouble? Alright, it's just raising a little chick, isn't it? The middle-aged man picked up some minced meat and put it in Tianma's bowl. He replied nonchalantly, your daughter has this temperament. What have you ever seen her raise? Even a cactus can raise a little chick to death, let alone a little one. Speaking of which, the middle-aged man paused for a moment and added, it's really not possible. If you raise it for 2 days, you can secretly slaughter it and cook soup for your daughter. The middle-aged man answered casually, and the young woman listened casually. But what they didn't expect was that the silly little yellow chicken on the table could understand them word for word. Slaughter it and cook the soup for Lu Shan, these 4 words are no less than a bolt from the blue. He originally planned to follow Tianma until he had no self-protection ability. But the fact is, Tianma's parents planned to cook themselves before the end of the month. Is this the fate of a chicken cub? No. For the sake of survival. In order to die peacefully. To be a dead and intact chicken. Escape. Be sure to escape. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Advanced. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Advanced January 13, 2000. Finally. In just 1 minute, this damn target fan is about to be completed. Lu Shan hid at the head of Tianma's bed, guarded and staring at the window position. That foolish flower cat has been staying outside the window for 4 or 5 hours. It seems to be sunbathing on the moon, but upon observation through the pair of sneaky chicken eyes in Lu Shan, one will notice. The flower cat's eyes are actually fixed on the window. Without any accidents, he must be staring at Lu Shan. Since the occurrence of daytime events, Tianma has not allowed the flower cat to enter her room again, afraid that it will take Lu Shan away. This flower cat looks obedient. At most during the day, it just lies outside the window, and even if the window is open, it won't come in. With this guarantee, Tianma's girl is now able to go out with peace of mind. She is still tinkering with the borrowed grass cage in the cafeteria, claiming it is to make a small nest for Lu Shan. Of course, this borrowed word probably needs to be in quotation marks. How annoying. Lu Shan couldn't help but complain. Only 1,000 days of being a thief, how can there be 1,000-day defense against thieves? If this flower cat keeps staring at itself like this every day, it's unlikely that one day it will run away and be picked up again, then its life will probably come to an end. In order to die peacefully and run away safely, we must find a way to solve this cat first. At this moment, the string of numbers in his mind reset to 0, and then a voice without any emotion rang out. System prompt. The target for the beginner level has been achieved, and the next task will automatically start. The target for the beginner level is 239.59.59. You have successfully taken a small step on the path of evolution, but you are still weak. System prompt. Turn on energy infusion, please prepare the host. Ah. Before Lu Shan could react from the few words he had just spoken, suddenly an inexplicable tingling sensation emanated from his heart and quickly spread throughout his body. But this energy comes and goes quickly. As soon as Lu Shan couldn't help but chirp, the energy disappeared and was replaced by the emotionless electronic synthesizer. System prompt. Energy infusion completed, blood evolution completed. System prompt, congratulations to the host, successfully evolved into heterotrophic chicken. What is omnivorous chicken? As soon as the question came to Lu Shan's mind, a series of system prompts came over. System tip. Paratrophic chicken is a type of chicken organism that has evolved a special digestive system and can eat foreign substances other than grains and grains. Simply put, it is a better food for raising chickens, and its meat quality has a remarkable effect in promoting blood circulation and removing blood stasis. Better feeding. Does this mean that I have evolved from an ordinary poultry to a poultry with special functions? So this evolved into a ghost. Lu Shan opened the attribute panel with an angry expression on his face. Name. Lu Shan race. Chicken bloodline. Heterotrophic chicken level. Fan, Junior, countdown to promotion. 238.58.55, strength. 0.9, a little force is about 10 kilograms, less than 0.1 is ignored, physical fitness. 0.6, physical fitness includes endurance and body resistance, etc. Agility. 0.5, the top 10 points can provide a maximum speed of 10 meters per second, and for every 10-point increase in attribute points, the speed increases by 1 meter per second, talent skills. Meaty aroma, as a local chicken, it has a strong meat texture that is different from cage-raised chickens, and the taste is excellent. Iron claws, as the name suggests, iron claws are prone to rusting, please pay attention to maintenance. Good guy, the upgrade time has increased directly from the previous 24 hours to the current 240 hours. 10 times more. According to this pattern, does it take 2,400 hours to advance to the next level? Convert it. So na. 100 days. Thinking that it would take more than 3 months for him to advance to the next level, Lu Shan suddenly felt hopeless. Next, the attribute values have increased significantly. For Lu Shan, this is still a good comfort, although the value has not increased much. Finally, when Lu Shan shifted his focus to the newly added talent skill, the impatient fire of roast in my heart suddenly sprang up. Chicken feet are chicken feet. What kind of iron chicken feet are there? Iron chicken feet are no longer a concern. Nima will rust. Do you really need to take good care of it? Do you want to polish it? Fortunately, the appearance of the chicken feet has not changed, otherwise would you still need to find some more paint to apply? No, why do we need anti-rust paint? Lu Shan is full of angry slots. At this moment, a faint, meowing sound suddenly came from outside the window. Needless to say, it's the kitten with egg yolks barking there again. I'm so annoyed. Lu Shan felt a wave of irritability in his heart. Suddenly, he thought of a question. How powerful is a cat? 5 kilograms. 10 kilograms. If I remember correctly, the strength of a cat should be its agility and responsiveness. As for strength, an adult cat may not necessarily be as strong as an adult chicken. And my strength at this moment should not be inferior to that of an adult chicken. So how about? Lu Shan suddenly turned his head and glanced at Tianma, who was still sleeping. Then he lifted his head and set his gaze outside the window. At this moment, the flower cat still occasionally glanced around the room. It may seem casual, but in reality, it's just waiting for something. Seeing this, Lu Shan pretended not to know. Get up and walk unsteadily from Tianma's pillow position to the end of the bed. Stop at the position next to the table. Then, squatting down, wings swaying beside him, slowly closing his eyes and pretending to be asleep. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, nearly 15 minutes passed in the end. As Lu Shan was about to fall asleep, he suddenly felt a gentle movement of the bedding under his feet. Here we go. Lu Shan remained calm and slightly raised his eyelids. In the line of sight, a blurry figure, with silent footsteps, slowly walked towards him. As the distance gets closer, the psychological pressure brought by the flower cat becomes stronger. But Mount Lu cannot move. Because he is not sure if his movements will cause the flower cat to have other reactions. Advance, attack, or retreat on guard. The former is fine, but if the latter, at their own speed of 0.5 meters per second, they may not even be able to eat the opponent's foot ash. So he can only wait in place. Waiting, when Lu Shan vaguely saw a huge black shadow approaching him. At this moment, he held his breath. The next second, Lu Shan suddenly opened his eyes. I saw that the flower cat's egg yolk had already arrived in front of me, and at the same time, the other person also raised the cat's paw and extended it towards me. Unprepared. Good opportunity. Lu Shan instantly lifted his chicken beak, tilted his head back slightly, and then took a strong sip forward. The chicken's beak accurately hit the paw pad of the cat's paw. Meow. This sudden change caused the startled flower cat to explode several tens of centimeters in place. And just as the opponent bounced, Lu Shan was ready for the next attack. Spread your wings, raise your head, and charge towards the spot where the flower cat fell. What Lu Shan didn't expect was that the flower cat's reaction was a bit faster than him. Before falling, its limbs landed first, and then its body followed suit. This made Lu Shan, who was staring at a chicken beak rushing towards him, somewhat surprised, and at the same time, he was pressed under his body by the flower cat. Goo. Get up. Get up the labor. Lu Shan, who was pressed under his body, fought back vigorously, raised his mouth, and aimed at the lower body of the flower cat. In the middle of the two spherical protrusions, there was a fierce thrust when he went up. Take this sip. The flower cat let out an extremely mournful scream with a whimper. Immediately after, he exploded from the bed at lightning speed and rushed out the window at an extremely fast speed without looking back. Watching the flower cat disappear on the windowsill with its legs sandwiched, Lu Shan felt incredibly happy at this moment. He couldn't help but want to look up and laugh, but suddenly, an emotionless system beep came from his ear. System tip. Defeat 1 ordinary level, intermediate, flower cat and receive 2 hours to advance to the ordinary level, intermediate. Defeat 1 level higher and the time reward will double. System prompt. Defeat 1 level higher and reward attribute points, 1. Settlement. Obtain 4 hours to advance to the mortal level, intermediate, and attribute points, 1. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Stages. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Stages. Attribute point, attribute point, attribute point. Wahahaha. Lu Shan laughed happily and then shifted his gaze to his attribute board. My current strength is 0.9, physical fitness is 0.6, and agility is 0.5. No matter which value, combined with this attribute, it can be said to be a fundamental breakthrough. As is well known, physical fitness includes data on physical aspects such as endurance and resistance. In other words, physical fitness can also be equivalent to health value. And agility is related to the speed of movement, reaction ability, and other combat stress abilities. The faster you run, the higher the survival rate. So, Lu Shan chose to add attribute points to his strength. Labor management is a man who wants to be a big chicken boss. How can we give up the pursuit of power? That's unbearable. However, when Lu Shan focused his attention on the small plus sign after the strength attribute value, another system prompt sound has appeared. System prompt. Due to the weak physical condition of the host, energy cannot be infused at once. It can now be divided into 5 stages, with each stage separated by 3 hours. Do you agree? I'm so special. Shan almost spurted out a mouthful of old blood. I've heard of buying a house, a car, and a wife in installments, but now I can't even imagine that there are also installments for injecting energy. What would happen if I don't agree? Shan's mind conjured up such doubts. System prompt. If the host disagrees, energy can still be infused, but energy exceeding the body threshold will dissipate and disappear. I'm a special person. Emotion is when one's body is too weak to accept the infusion of energy. Why can we instill knowledge when advancing? Wait a minute. Is the physique too weak? Shan seemed to understand something and once again silently asked in his heart. If I have a strong physique, wouldn't it be possible to have staged perfusion? The system did not respond. But Shan was not satisfied and once again silently asked in his heart. Can I activate this attribute point? System prompt. The attribute points cannot be disassembled for use. Does the host agree to staged perfusion? Damn it. Tired, yes. System prompt. Staged perfusion begins, 1/5, immediately afterwards, a strong heat flow appeared from the heart and rushed rapidly towards the entire body. That sour and refreshing feeling is like diving into a bathhouse in extremely cold weather. Unfortunately, this heat flow comes and goes quickly. In a blink of an eye, the heat flow came to an end. Feeling the superior power within his body, Shan laughed happily as he looked up. There was a chicken crowing sound in the mouth. However, due to the loud noise, Tianma, who was sleeping on the bed next to her, was awakened. Tianma woke up in a daze and saw her chick standing by the bed, giggling and barking wildly. Despite her confusion, she had no other thoughts or reactions in her confusion. Instinctively, she reached out and grabbed the chick into her arms. Go to sleep, go to sleep. Gigi. Sleeping with your sister, labor management is running away. Go to sleep, go to sleep. Chick. Do you know if you're running away? Run away. Sleep. Sleep. Goo, running. Running away. N. Goo. N. Early morning. Shan was originally still daydreaming, in which he was chatting with several young ladies all night. Little did he know that just as he was about to do something, the mouths of those little sisters suddenly became sharp. Immediately after, a crown grew on top of my head and chicken feathers began to grow all over my body. This scared Shan, and he was startled on the spot. Upon waking up, Shan's eyes were still bewildered, unable to recover from the nightmare for a long time. Suddenly, he found himself on a dark yellow wall. No, it's in a dark yellow grass cage. At this moment, there is a bed piled up with several leaves, a leaf table, and a small leaf figure cut from leaves lying quietly in the corner. Playing house. Shan's face twitched as he looked at the leaf figure with eerie features painted on it. If you're a chicken, why do you have something like this to accompany you? If you're not scared to death, you'll be burning high incense. However, it cannot be denied that Tianma put her heart into it. Just, doesn't she seem to forget that this nest is for a chick to live in? Bed, table, if only I had a computer, hey. Shan sighed and crawled out of this chicken coop, ready to pack up and run away. As soon as they came out, they collided head-on with Tianma, who came in from outside. Oh my! Did the chicken wake up obediently? How about it? Are you satisfied with this home? Tianma's tone was very excited, as if waiting for Shan's response. Chatting, great. Dog-legged Shan said absent-mindedly. Seeing the reaction of the chicken cub, Tianma was very satisfied and directly held the draft cage, then gestured for Shan to enter the cage. Then, with a thud-thud, he turned around and ran out of the room. Dad. Mom. Look. I made a house for the little chicken obediently and it really likes it. I like you, Hammer. If it weren't for plotting your family's food, labor and management would have turned against you long ago. Shan leaned against the edge of the cardboard box, trying to stabilize his body and prevent himself from falling down. Well, my Tianma is really amazing. As he spoke, a middle-aged man with a smile on his face appeared in Shan's line of sight, and then reached out to touch Shan's head. This chicken seems to be a little older than 2 days. You're a big ol'. Don't think that labor and management don't know what you think. Don't dream anymore. Shan looked up at the middle-aged man's finger and only pecked it. In a daze, the middle-aged man's finger shrank and casually avoided Shan's attack. Then, he glanced at Shan in the grass cage, cracked his lips, and spoke out. Good daughter, I took the exam today and happen to have a question to test you. Childhood exam. What is it? For new nouns, Shan's nerves have always been exceptionally sensitive. Is it a childish exam? All right. Tianma showed a gloomy expression that matched her academic performance, sitting obediently, waiting for her father to answer the questions. Similarly, Shan also raised his ears curiously. However, with a sentence from the middle-aged man, Shan almost jumped up on the spot. Do you know if this chicken is a rooster or a hen? Go to your second uncle. I knew you, a thief, couldn't speak well. Labor and capital are not public, are they still female? Shan turned around in a fit of anger and shouted to Tianma. Chatting. Come on, girl. Hurry up and tell your dad, what gender is labor and capital? However, Tianma didn't even think about it and confidently opened her mouth, saying. Mother. Puff. Shan couldn't help but almost swallow himself in one breath. Why? The middle-aged man asked with a smile. Uncle Wang next door taught me that when a chicken is young, it depends on its body shape. A rooster with a big head, big feet and high weight is a rooster, while a rooster with a small head, short feet and light body must be a hen. Tianma said with a determined expression on her face. Mother, you big girl. I am public. Public. Angry Shan spread his wings and roared angrily. The middle-aged man heard his daughter's words and was very pleased, but did not praise them. Instead, he continued to ask in reverse. Your method is not the most accurate. What if some roosters are naturally malnourished? Damn your uncle's malnutrition. But considering that you think this chicken is male, I won't argue with you for now. Tianma thought for a long time, but finally shook her head. I don't know, don't you know? Then let daddy tell you. The middle-aged man said and grabbed Shan, whose sixth sense seemed to sense something, and suddenly began to struggle frantically. However, although he has advanced, his strength still lags far behind that of an adult man. Hey, this little thing has quite a lot of energy. The middle-aged man pulled out a wooden thorn from somewhere and pointed back at Shan's buttocks, saying, Look here. After speaking, he turned the wooden thorn upside down and rudely extended it towards Shan. No. Don't. Don't do it. Dad. I called you Dad. Stop. Hurry up and stop. No. Don't. Ah. Dog thief. Labor and management are at odds with you. Shan struggled frantically, roared, and poked people, but unfortunately, it had no effect. Just as he closed his eyes and waited quietly for humiliation to come. Suddenly. A strange bell rang from outside the room to inside. Duong. I haven't changed my status yet. Once the signing status is changed, I'll make 2 changes a day. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Preschool Examination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Preschool Examination Tianjia Big Bell. It only rings when there is a big or urgent matter. Sound a warning, there may be an invasion from external enemies. The two sounds of the ethnic assembly represent the announcement of something by the elders within the tribe. As for the three sounds, that represents the official start of the 3-year National Preschool Entrance Examination. Childhood Examination. It is an assessment system established within the clan to screen talents. There are both written exams and tests. A written test is about doing questions, while a test is about testing. From the few words spoken by Tiango Thief and Tianma, it is estimated that it is a kind of test. But what exactly was being measured, Shan couldn't ask. Eat breakfast. Tianma's family set off in full sets. Before departure, it seemed that Tiango Thief had no intention of taking him with him. Shan, who is full of curiosity about this world, cannot compromise and chatter incessantly. Finally, in Tianma's aggrieved gaze, the thief compromised. So, Shan happily sat inside Tianma's collar, revealing a chicken head, and began to observe the situation outside the yard. Outside the yard, there are walls on the left and in front, but on the right is a small path leading to the outside. There are walls similar to city walls not far away. And their direction of advancement is towards the city wall. It seems that Tianma and her family live outside the city. But from the structure of the rows of buildings next to it, it seems a bit different. Is the structure of the entire Tian family partly within the city and partly outside the city? While Shan was still speculating, a large courtyard door in front of the city wall opened, and from inside came a very wealthy family of 4. 2 big fat people and 2 small fat people. The child's father. Tianma first saw the 4 chubby people and recognized each other. She quickly called out in a low voice. The Tianzhu book family has come out. Upon hearing this, Tian's father frowned first, and then reluctantly leaned towards the 4 chubby people with his family. Farmer's book, morning. Oh, isn't this Tanaka flag, Tanaka accounting house? The leading fat man raised his head upon hearing the sound and, upon seeing the newcomer, said somewhat arrogantly. How has the store's business been lately? There hasn't been any problem with the accounts, has there? No, Tanaka flag shook his head and made a muffled sound. If not, it's good. It's good. Tian Wangfang's ability to handle affairs is still reassuring. The chubby Mr. Tian praised with a smile on his face. Suddenly, the chubby woman next to them interjected into their conversation and bluntly said. Our 7th branch's grain business is the largest in the entire family. Every day, there are tens of tales of income and expenditure in the accounts. Oda, the account must not be wrong. After speaking, she reached out and patted Tian's shoulder, seemingly admonishing him, but in reality, even the chicken in Shan could hear the contemptuous meaning. Tsk. Shan turned around and looked at the rebellious and silent dog thief Tanaka banner, suddenly feeling a bit pitiful. A person in their 30s, facing someone who looks much younger than him, bows and bows. The key is still in front of one's own daughter. Isn't this a contemporary social animal? Pooh. Do these thieves still need people to be pitiful? The anger in Shan's heart could not be calmed for a long time when he thought about almost being exploded. At this moment, the leading fat man cast his haughty gaze on Tian Mama. The eyes with pinholes made Tian Mama feel uncomfortable all over. Unconsciously, he reached out his hand and pulled at the corner of Tian's sleeve. Tian's father also understood his wife's meaning and quickly spoke up. Tianzhu Shu, please. I have to go back now. After speaking, he pointed to Tianwa and explained apologetically. The child's pen is missing one, I need to go back and get it. I have extra. I can give you one. The tall chubby one among the 2 little chubby ones accidentally interjected, then reached out and pointed to Tianwa's chest, saying. But I want that chicken. Give me the chicken, and I'll give you a pen. Chicken, you second uncle. Shan couldn't help but speak up and confront him. Chattering. Adults talk, children don't interrupt, this is what Tianma was taught when she was young. But that's relative to talking about adults. Now that she was involved, Tianma bluntly refused. No way. It's my pet. As Tianma refused, the tall and chubby man's haughty expression instantly changed, and he looked at his mother in tears. Mother. I want it. I want it. Okay. I want it. As she spoke, the chubby woman turned her gaze towards Tianma. Just as she was about to speak, Tianma took 2 steps back and then turned her head and ran away. Well done. A heartfelt praise from Shan. Seeing her daughter run away, Tianma quickly lowered her head and apologized, chasing after her in the direction her daughter had left. But I didn't want to see how ugly the faces of the few people who stayed in place were. Especially the couple who just had a disdainful expression on their faces. Faced with lower status collateral children, it has always been their unspoken opinion. How could they have been refuted by an 8-year-old girl today? Immediately, he shook off his face and said expressionlessly. Tianwangfang, I suddenly feel that the position of grain store manager may not be suitable for you. Upon hearing this, Tanaka Flag, who had already had an awkward expression, immediately became bitter. Humph. With a cold snort, the farmer turned his head and left, while the lady next to him comforted his son while also glaring at the flag in the field. Then, he pulled his 2 sons and left. Standing still, Tanaka Banner watched as the 4 chubby men gradually disappeared, his mouth twitched, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Gently sighed and turned his head towards the direction where his daughter had run away. 20 minutes later, at the entrance of the family exam hall. Tianma was still teaching Tianma not to understand etiquette when suddenly, the figure of Tanaka Flag appeared in their sight. Tianma quickly waved her hand. Daddy. Here. Here. Upon hearing his daughter's voice, Tanaka Banner turned around and immediately leaned over with a smile on his face. How's it going? Tianma asked with some concern. Did the landlord's book say anything later? It's okay. It's just such a small matter, how could the other person's clerk argue with us? Tanaka Banner looked indifferent, then approached and hugged his daughter, saying. Child, do you have confidence in the exam today? Have Tianma is full of confidence. You're a ghost. Shan was sandwiched between the chest of 2 people, getting stuck in one breath and almost not being pinched to death. After a while, he took a deep breath when the father and daughter hugged each other and let go. Blaming the family of 3, they turned their attention back to the surroundings. At this moment, there were already many people around who seemed to be coming to watch the excitement. Among them, there don't seem to be many households with a family, probably only around 20.30 households. In these 20.30 households, there are children of different sizes, 1 and 2 in number. Even Shan was not far away, seeing the chubby family just now, gathered with several people from other families, not knowing what they were talking about. Judging from the occasional glances from the other person, it is likely not a good thing. Is this what the Tanaka Flag dog thief is saying about not caring? Shan sneered. At this moment, the entrance of the examination hall in front suddenly slowly opened, and a middle-aged man wearing a black and vigorous suit walked out from inside. Upon seeing this, everyone present instinctively stopped speaking and their gaze focused on the middle-aged man. And the middle-aged man, facing hundreds of direct gazes, had no change in his expression, only gently opening his mouth. Suddenly, a deep voice rang in everyone's ears, including the chicken cub Shan. Shishan Tianjia, the 49th kindergarten entrance examination is now starting. Next, all candidates are requested to enter in an orderly manner. Send the contract. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Progress bar learning skills. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 6 Progress Bar Learning Skills. In this way, Tianma slowly walked into the examination room under the gaze of Tianzhong Flag and Tianma. The scene that caught the attention of that group of people was like sending off for the college entrance examination. As for Shan, it's just a pet. The childish examiner did not stop Tianma, saying that it was not allowed to carry pets. At most, I just took a glance. But at this glance, Shan seemed to feel an indescribable fear. Like being targeted by a fierce beast. Lying trough. He's a big shot. Go, go, go. Shan shrank his entire body in fear into Tianma's clothes, making her itch. He quickly whispered to the leader of the clothes. Stop making trouble. The little chicken is obedient. Obedient. Later, feeling that the chicks in her collar were not making any more fuss, Tianma continued to move forward with peace of mind. As she walked through the door with other children and arrived at a large courtyard with rows of tables arranged in a regular manner, she stopped. At this moment, a stern voice came from somewhere, saying, "Everyone, according to their name, sit at their own table one by one. During the exam, it is not allowed to whisper or bring personal belongings. During this period, it is not allowed to leave the seat without consent. If there is any violation, the child will be expelled on the spot and will not be allowed to enter the kindergarten again for life." Hiss, so strict. Is this still a primary school entrance exam? Shan, who was hiding in his clothes, temporarily gave up the idea of sticking his head out and watching. After all, as an excellent melon eater, I know what melons can and cannot be eaten. Subsequently, Tianma found her position. Sit down and wait with peace of mind. Not long after, from the window not far ahead, a lot of paper suddenly flew out with a loud noise and fell onto each table one by one. This mutation immediately caused low cries of surprise among the children present, including Tianma. Wow! How amazing! How did this happen? How did it happen? Shan, who was hiding in his clothes, felt an itch in his heart when he heard this sound. I wanted to protrude my head several times and see what was going on outside. But every time he was about to come out, the terrifying gaze of the man at the door reappeared in his mind, frightening him and burying his head back. Special code. Isn't this torture? Shan let out a roar of grief and anger in his heart. After a few breaths, the sound of clattering disappeared, and the screams of surprise also faded away. At this moment, Shan understood that the most magical place had already been missed. Since he missed it, he lost the mood to come out and look again. He simply closed his eyes and rested in Tianma's clothes. The time has come. The exam is officially starting. With a command, Shan could feel Tianma's body begin to move. I just don't know what the exam content is, what this chubby girl wrote. Do you really know how to distinguish between male and female chickens? Shouldn't it be that boring? Why don't you come out and sneak a peek yourself? Secretly. Just take a look. The kind that doesn't make any sound. It shouldn't matter at first glance. Anyway, as long as you don't disturb Tianma to do the exercises. Yes. Just don't disturb me. Finally, Shan didn't know whether he had convinced himself or the gaze in his mind. Slowly. Shan gently poked a pointed tip out of the chicken's beak. After there was no movement, he poked out the entire chicken head. As soon as she appeared, she saw Tianma holding onto a pen-like object and writing something on a yellow and white file. As for what is specifically written, Shan only glanced at it and was completely bewildered. 8 dogs. What is this specifically written about? Are you sure it's human language? What kind of humans would use this anti-intellectual language? Fake. Just as Shan was feeling frustrated, Tianma suddenly whispered to herself. Move up non-stop, hook and flick the slingshot, lower the bow, move left and right. What are you doing with each other? Who knows what you're doing with each other? Shan was about to roast when suddenly, a hint tone without emotion sounded in his mind. System prompt. Discovered the martial art, grasp hand, do you want to learn it? Lying groove. Learn to learn. Shan's first reaction to the sound was to give instructions to the system, and the system also showed a percentage of reading bars. Awesome. Every time Tianma reads one more sentence, the system's reading progress increases by a certain amount. Similarly, every time Tianma pauses, the system reading note in Shan's mind also pauses. That's it. When Tianma finished reading the entire paragraph off and on, Shan's mind reached 95% of the reading. Suddenly, a crisp, ding-ling sound reached his ears. Immediately afterwards, the stern voice reappeared. The exam is over, and everyone walks out of the examination room in an orderly manner. The words have just finished. The paper on Tianma's desk suddenly slipped out of Tianma's hands like wings inserted, and flew up with a clattering sound. No. No. Shan let out a heart-wrenching cry. But no one noticed his shouting, because there were many people in the exam room who were so heart-wrenching. Among the 20 or 30 children, only a small number had a calm expression on their faces. Others, most children either howl in pain or feel depressed and distressed, and even more so, a girl directly covers her face and cries. Tianma is also one with a calm expression, even though she almost hasn't finished writing the last question. But she calmed down, and the chick in her chest was almost in a frenzy. Just 5% difference. 5%. Can't you accept the test paper so late by 2 minutes? 5%. Just 5%. Looking at the reading bar in the attribute panel, Shan's heart went crazy. At this moment, a new system prompt came. System prompt. The learning of catcher has failed. Do you want to temporarily save the reading entry? Can it still be like this? Shan was stunned for a moment, but still responded to this system prompt. Immediately, he noticed that there was an active skill position on his attribute panel. And under this active skill, there is an additional tip about catcher. The word incomplete in the parentheses is just a bit catching. Shan took a brief look at the introduction of this cultivation method and roughly understood its essence. Speaking of martial arts, it is actually just 2 moves. Capture with 1 move, take with 1 move. Both moves are control. It is to use special techniques to temporarily control the enemy. Well, the skills in hand. Although it is only used 3 times due to its incompleteness, it is still a skill. Moreover, since I can learn this catcher, it proves that I can also learn other martial arts. At that time, I will have a Buddha's palm on my left and a flying immortal from outside the sky on my right. May I ask, who else is there? As for the original plan to run away, let's talk about it later. Learn more skills first. Anyway, the thief should not be able to eat himself for a while. Think of this. Shan couldn't help but let out a cluck-cluck sound of chicken crowing. At this moment, Tianma had already left the exam room and walked towards her parents. Soon. When she saw her parents in the crowd. However, as she walked past, 3 men in black uniforms suddenly gathered around her parents. The 7th branch, 16 grain stores, accounting house Tianzhong flag. You have been reported on 2 charges of embezzling family property and accepting bribes. We need your assistance in the investigation now. Could you please come with us? End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Malicious Full. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Malicious Full, Accepting Bribes. Embezzlement of family property. How could it be? Tanaka Chi looked bewildered and instinctively protected his wife and daughter behind him, wondering. Dear clan guards, have you found the wrong person? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, did you find the wrong person? Tianma also asked with suspicion. I don't want to. The leader of the clan guard took out a piece of paper from his waist, glanced at it, and then spoke again. The 7th branch, the 16th grain shop, is it you, the accounting clerk Tanaka Banner? Tanaka Banner nodded. That's right. The leading clan guard immediately took a step back and waved to the other clan guards beside them. Take it away. Watching 2 people approach, 4 arms thrust towards Tanaka Flag's arms. At this moment, Tanaka Banner suddenly realized that he couldn't escape this trip. Subsequently, he quickly steadied his steps and said in a friendly voice to the left and right clan guards. 2 big brothers, can you be accommodating and let me have a few words with my family before we leave? The left and right clan guards exchanged a glance, then turned around and made eye contact with the leading clan guard before slowly releasing their restraint. With permission, Tanaka Banner quickly turned around and pulled his daughter and wife aside. Jongchi, have you really embezzled or taken bribes? Tianma asked with a worried expression on her face. How could it be? What personality traits would you not know about your husband? And in my position, who can't resist bribing me? It's more direct to bribe the steward and the chief clerk. That's quite reasonable, but I can't say what you really received. Otherwise, why did they come to you by name? Upon hearing this, Shan was filled with malicious suspicion. Why do they still take you, Daddy? Tianma interjected and asked. Upon hearing his daughter's doubts, Tanaka Banner, although he was also very strange, could only guess to appease his wife and daughter's emotions. Maybe there's really something wrong with the store's accounts, right? But don't worry, when they investigate thoroughly, they will definitely let me back. Upon hearing these words, Shan frowned and hid in Tianma's collar, beginning to contemplate something. In theory, even if there is really an issue with the accounts, it should not be taking people away in front of so many people. What is the difference between this and case characterization? Besides, there are issues with the accounts, shouldn't we just go and solve them directly? What does it mean to come and arrest someone? Shan suddenly felt that the bandit from Tianzhong Banner might have been caught up in trouble. And it may not be a small matter. At this moment, as the family of 3 was about to continue speaking, the 2 clan guards next to them seemed to be unable to take it anymore, so they got started and started again. Alright, come with us. Tanaka Banner had no choice but to nod and follow the 3 clan guards out. While walking, she waved her hands with Tianma, signaling not to worry. After the people waiting for the Tanaka flag gradually disappeared. Sad Tianma couldn't help but embrace Tianma and choked up in a low voice. Just as the mother and daughter were comforting each other, the entire square suddenly began to discuss. Speak widely and confidently. At first, it was okay, just some curious comments. But then, the words became more and more unrestrained. On the surface, it looks like a human, but behind the scenes, it turns out to be like this. It's no wonder the people from the old 7 are like this. When such harsh words reached Tianma's ears, she, who was already very uncomfortable, was about to erupt on the spot. But it was suddenly stopped by Tianma. Baby, don't be impulsive. Let's go home first. After speaking, she grabbed Tianma's hand and lowered her head, walking quickly towards the direction of home. On the way back, there were people pointing at them all along the way. Tianma, who had been holding her breath for a long time, finally couldn't help but turn around and look at her own mother, asking suspiciously. Auntie, why do those people say that about us? We have no grievances or grudges against them. Faced with her daughter's questioning, Tianma bit her lip but didn't say anything. However, Shan in Tianma's collar couldn't help but chatter. Chatting. What else can I do? I'm not doing well. Cheer. Usually, only those who have had a bad life on their own will feel at ease when they see others also having a bad life. Gigi. This is a disease, you don't need to pay attention. Seeing that her aunt couldn't explain to her, Tianma, who was feeling frustrated in her heart, tears welled up in her eyes again. So, Tianma held back her grievances and returned home, then ate and rested. After waiting for the time, he went out the door with his own aunt again. In the afternoon, Tianma felt aggrieved and did not take Lu Shan with her. Just as Lu Shan was anxiously shouting from behind, his other hand lifted him up in the air. Lu Shan turned around and saw that it was Tianma. She looked at the chick with a sad expression on her face, sighed softly, and then put the chick into her waist pocket before walking outside the door. And Lu Shan, who was tied to his waist, did not have as many negative emotions as the mother and daughter. At this moment, he was constantly looking up at the towering mountains and muttering a sentence in his mind. I really want to sit in my collar. 15 minutes later, the mother and daughter returned to the entrance of the kindergarten. This time, with their arrival, more people turned their attention to them. It is obvious that after the fermentation at noon, more people learned about the fact that Tanaka banner was taken off the street to investigate accounting issues. Faced with more people's strange gazes, Tianwa's complex psychological activities can be seen by Lu Shan through the white fist she pinched. But what's the solution? There is no way. Lu Shan continued to look up, thinking of his first-class cabin. At this moment, the door of the kindergarten opened again. Strangely, upon opening it this time, it was not the big man from the morning who came out, but an old man dressed strangely. The spacious sleeves and sealed collar look like Taoist robes no matter what. Is there a profession like Taoist in this world? Lu Shan curiously fixed his gaze on the old man. After he walked out of the door, with a wave of his hand, a crystal stone the size of a palm flew out of his sleeve and slowly landed on the prepared platform in front. Lying trough, control objects in the air. What did this old man do? Lu Shan's face was filled with shock. Subsequently, the old man looked up at the crowd and suddenly spoke. Old man Tian Gang, the head of the Tian family's childish hall. This time, the Jitang exam will be tested by the old man. Next, the child who is reciting their name comes forward and puts their hands on this crystal. After speaking, the old man took out another piece of paper from his sleeve and muttered to it. Tian Fuan. As soon as the words fell, a chubby little guy responded and walked forward quickly. When he came to the old man, he bowed very respectfully to him. I learned the routine well. Lu Shan snorted sarcastically. Follow him and you'll see this chubby little guy. Put your hand on that crystal. The next second, a faint white light emerged from the crystal. The lightness of the color cannot even be seen if not carefully examined. Seeing this, the old man shook his head and said. Slightly white, weak golden spirit root. The sense of qi is small. Qualification is of the lowest level. Jitang suggests learning business. Tomorrow, change the status and start 2 changes a day. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Regrettable Qualifications. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Regrettable Qualifications. No. This is impossible. In the crowd, someone spoke with questioning voices. Needless to say, this is definitely the voice of the chubby family. And the chubby little man named Tian Fuan himself also had an incredulous expression on his face. After releasing his hand, he reluctantly put it back on the crystal. The result is still the faint white light. Seeing this, the little chubby man was greatly affected, and his whole face was filled with frustration. Tian Gang saw the situation and didn't say much. After all, this is not the first time he has taken this childish test. The same expression, the same disbelief. Over the past few decades, he has seen not only 1,000 but also 800. Next, Tianlu. As soon as the voice came out, a little girl dressed in yellow satin silk walked out of the crowd with her neck held high and her toes held high. That's the third branch, the daughter of Jichang Tian Shanghua. I heard our family is getting rich. So it's her. No wonder she's so flashy. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Look at the hairpin she's wearing on her head. That's Xia Fengxiang's. It's so beautiful. I really want to have one too. Shan didn't feel right when he heard the sound, so he turned around to take a look. He is a strong man with 2 shoulders that can run horses, with his hands hooked together. Cough and cough. Sorry to bother you. Shan continued to turn his gaze to the little girl in front of him. After bowing respectfully to Tiangang, she also placed her hand on the crystal in front of her. Next second. The surface of the crystal was covered with red dots of light. Subsequently, the dots of light gradually brightened and eventually even reached a bright level. It's like a flame burning there. Minghong, the spiritual root of Shanghua. In the sense of qi. Qualification is of medium to high quality. Jitang suggests practicing in the direction of spiritual fire. Not bad. Not bad. The old man smiled and nodded. With this compliment, the girl immediately cheered happily. Those who run and jump will run back. Then came the sound of music in the crowd. And this has nothing to do with Shan. At this moment, the old man's words were still floating in his mind. The direction of cultivation. Spiritual fire. Oh my goodness. Is it the world of cultivating immortals? Shan is both excited and nervous. Excited is that I have a system to support myself, as long as there are no accidents, I can definitely rise up. But he was also very nervous. In case of an accident, he might not even be able to save his chicken bones. Oh, I'm so conflicted. The testing is still ongoing at this time. There are a few more children going up, and their qualifications are basically of the lowest or lower level, not a single one is of the middle or lower level, let alone the middle or upper level. At this moment, the old man on stage spoke up. Next, Tian Xiao. As the conversation ended, many people turned their gaze towards it. What are you looking at? Look. Kill you, believe it or not. Shan, who was stimulated by his gaze, focused on retaliating without even noticing that Tianma had already stood up and walked slowly forward. After realizing it later, he turned his head and cast his gaze in the direction of Tianma. Good guy. So the child's real name is Tian Xiao. Labor and management thought that Tianma was just her real name. Shan murmured roast on his mouth, but his eyes were always on the girl. I saw Tianma, no, Tian Xiao, like the previous child, bowing forward and then placing her hand on the crystal. For a while, there was no movement in the crystal. Just when everyone is strange. In an instant. In the crystal, there is a sudden flash of white light, and as time goes on, the white light becomes more and more bright. In the end, the white light flickered to a dazzling level. Surprisingly, Shan has the illusion of looking directly at the high beams of the car, and that car is really Audi. A few seconds later. As the light faded, scattered screams of surprise began to appear in the field. Oh my goodness! What level of talent do you need for such dazzling light? Who owns this girl? What? The 7th branch, Tanaka Banner. Isn't that the troublemaker who was taken away at noon? Is this girl his daughter? Is a daughter who committed a crime so talented? Shoo, keep your voice down, don't let that girl hear you, be careful not to seek revenge on you in the future. Hi. Labor management heard me. Spitfire flag dog thief is fine, bring Tianma and don't blame the management for being impolite in the future. Shan hummed and remembered the faces of these people, then turned his gaze back to the stage again. Bright white, topped with golden spiritual roots. The spiritual root is very good, it can be said to be a top-level spiritual root. Speaking of this, I saw that the old man named Tiangang did not have much joy or happiness on his face. This gave Lu Shan a feeling of unease in his heart. Sure enough, a turning sentence followed. But the sense of qi is very low, and the speed of sensing spiritual energy is too slow. So the comprehensive qualifications can only be of medium to low grade. Tiangang's tone was filled with regret. Because of such top-notch spiritual root attributes, it can be said to be very rare. Practice well, and it's uncertain that the future of the Tian family can rely on this girl. Unfortunately, such good spiritual root attributes are paired with extremely poor spiritual energy sensing. Taken together, no wonder he let out a sigh. Even if it's just a higher level of anger, he is willing to let go of everything and personally teach this girl, leading her on the path of cultivation. Unfortunately, what a pity, kindergarten recommended learning, equipment repair category. Auto repair. What the hell? Is this old man really capable? Lu Shan protested with a rooster crow, but no one paid attention to the anger of a chick. Thank you, Master Tian. Tian Xiao bowed again, then turned around and walked towards her position as an auntie. Approaching him, Lu Shan suddenly unexpectedly discovered that Tian Mama had an extra note in her hand at some point. There is a pile of incomprehensible text written densely on it. What is this? Who sent it? Lu Shan really wants to ask Tian Mama, but the issue of language communication is here. He had no choice but to keep this doubt in his heart. At this moment, Tian Xiao walked back. There were still some negative emotions before, but under the impact of the joy of passing the test, they also dissipated a lot. Auntie. I can now study academic law. Tian War is the best. Encouraged by Tian's mother, she reached out her hand and touched Tian Xiao's face, saying gently. Study hard, the equipment repair is actually good. At least you don't have to go out and fight, so as not to follow your father's old path. Well, I got it. Tian Xiao responded softly. At this moment, she saw the chicken cub hanging around Auntie's waist. Reached out and took it from Auntie's hand, then quietly coaxed and played with it. Afterwards, as each child's test was completed, the 49th kindergarten exam ended with a thank you from Tian Gang. After the end, Tian Xiao and her mother and daughter returned home and looked at the empty house. Tian Xiao couldn't help but ask. Auntie, when will Auntie come back? I miss him. Very soon. Very soon. As for how fast, Tian Mama didn't explain it clearly either. At night. Looking at the moonlight outside the window. Lu Shan is pondering a question. Since defeating can reduce the promotion time. As long as you keep catching that stupid cat brush, won't you be able to upgrade quickly? To prove the feasibility of this issue. He broke free from Tian Xiao's arms, carefully left the bed, and climbed up the windowsill. Not spending much time, with the help of Iron Claw, Lu Shan arrived at the windowsill. Then I looked out the window, trying to find some foolish flower cat. But the flower cat couldn't be found. A familiar graceful figure first caught his eye. That's Tianma. Where is she going so late? End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Tianma's Secret. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Tianma's Secret Midnight. Tian Family Courtyard. A woman was briskly walking on the path in the outer courtyard. From time to time, I also pay attention to my front, back, left and right, looking very careful. Finally, when she stopped in front of a redwood gate. After hesitating for a while, she finally gently pushed open the door. Watching Tian Mama enter the door, Lu Shan followed closely behind her, quickly quickened her pace and caught up with her as quickly as possible. But when he finally arrived at the door and was ready to enter, the door gently closed. Fake. Just one step away. Standing at the door, Lu Shan, who had not yet reached the threshold, was furious and despondent. There's no way, the door has already closed. No matter how angry he is, there's no way he can use this door. Just as he was thinking about what to do next. Suddenly, the sound of arguments came from inside the door. Shan quickly perked up his ears and leaned towards the threshold. Tongshi. I hope for your identity. Kitchen. Do you really think getting married means? You used to. Don't dream anymore. You were born a person of, a ghost of death. Forever. Don't think about it. The sound inside is intermittent, and when it reaches Shan's ears, he doesn't even know what it means to connect. Moreover, he could hardly hear Tianma's voice, and he didn't know if it was intentional to keep her voice low or what she was doing. Damn it. This sound signal is comparable to the three major operators. Angry Shan's entire chicken face was almost leaning against the threshold. However, at this moment, the sound of fighting could be heard in the room. Ding. When? Ding. Ding. It sounds like a collision between weapons. This has made the people who eat melons anxious. In a hurry, he simply went straight to the door, grabbed the wooden door with his claws, and climbed step by step onto the beam. When he finally climbed up and looked down. At a glance, in the courtyard, a man wearing a nightgown was holding a sword alone, perched on Tianma's neck. Tang Shi, in recent years, your martial arts have surprisingly made no progress. Are you putting all your thoughts on your man and daughter? Do you still want to kill me with your junior-level military skills? Between his words, the man in the night clothes shook his hand and drew a bloodline on Tianma's neck. Scarlet blood overflowed directly from the neck and slowly flowed down the collarbone. Faced with the threat of death, Tianma appeared fearless, staring at the man in the night clothes with staring eyes, her words popping out word by word. I paid off my life's money 10 years ago. Do you still want to use me now? I'll tell you, unless I die. So tough. Shan on the door beam was lying there, dumbfounded, as if he had met Tianma for the first time. But soon, he understood what he needed to do. Otherwise, but what does he do? From his words just now, Shan inferred the combat effectiveness of the man below. Greater than a junior-level soldier. The rank of soldiers is greater than that of mortals. And my combat power is at the level of ordinary beginners. There is a gap in realm with that man. If we go straight down. Approximately equivalent to door delivery of food tsk. We need to consider tactics. As he pondered, the man in the night clothes below suddenly burst out laughing. Undoubtedly, he was once the dance Ju show of Fengyang Tower. Despite all these years, his temperament has remained so fierce. Don't you just want to know why your man went in? Don't you want to know who reported him? I can report him today, but tomorrow maybe even your daughter. The words of the man in the night clothes were full of temptation, but then suddenly the wind changed and he spoke with an inexplicable smile, bluntly saying. All right, you stay with me all night. Before dawn, I'll tell you everything I know. How's it going? As he spoke, the sword in his hand slowly moved down from Tianma's neck, with the tip of the sword directly pressing against her heart and slowly swiping downwards. In an instant, Tianma's clothes were cut through a long slit in the middle, revealing the heart-wrenching white canyon inside. Due to angle reasons. Just happened to be seen deep in the canyon by Shan. In that moment, he stopped his downward steps. How about observe again? Anyway, there is currently no life-threatening situation as the sword tip of the man in the night clothes continued to slide downwards, more and more parts of Tianma's body were exposed. Shan's gaze, oh no. The man in the night clothes couldn't help but be attracted by the snow-white scenery. At this moment, Tianma suddenly moved. She, who was originally half kneeling, pulled out a hairpin from somewhere with her other hand, and the next second she released it, shooting at the man at an extremely fast speed. In a hurry. The man in the night clothes can only lift his sword to resist. Ding! The hairpin was successfully blocked by him, but with this opportunity, Tianma leaned down and slapped the man's lower abdomen. A muffled groan. The man in the night clothes was kicked back many steps and retreated directly to the position at the door. Not bad. Cough. Not bad. The man in the night clothes coughed softly twice, then spat out the blood stasis in his mouth and said to Tianma, "Have you developed skills? Will you be able to launch a surprise attack? If it weren't for the master saying you're still useful, I wouldn't have killed you. Will I be entangled with you for so long? But since you're so ungrateful, then I'll let you feel what life is better than death." After speaking, he took out a piece of yellow paper from his sleeve, gently threw it forward, and at the same time spoke. "Get out." As the words fell, the yellow paper suddenly ignited. The blink of an eye dissipates into the air. With the disappearance of the yellow paper, Tianma, who was originally standing, suddenly felt that she couldn't lift any strength from her body and looked at herself helplessly. With a thud, he fell to the ground. Before landing, she gritted her teeth with force and said word by word. "Talismans." Despicable. After speaking, he fainted on the ground. Watching Tianma lying on her side with spring light exposed, the man in the night clothes let out a lewd laugh. "Ah-ha." But just as he was laughing, he suddenly sensed something and looked up. A pointed claw suddenly appeared in front of him. Sting. Claw up and claw down. Next second, the man in the night clothes let out a painful wail. "Ah! Eyes! My eyes!" Amidst his howls, he swung his sword around, chopping and waving around. However, at this point, Mount Lu has already fallen to the ground. He just needs to be careful to avoid the footsteps of the man in the night clothes and not be stepped on. Although this is not a long-term solution. What can be done? Shan has just used his strongest attack technique. With his grappling hand and iron claws, the sneak attack can only hurt the opponent's eyes. If the other party eases a bit, I'm afraid I'll suffer soon. We need to find a way. And the man in the night clothes. At this moment, my eyes are injured and I can't open them at all, coupled with an unknown enemy beside me. He was completely defeated and shouted loudly. "Who is it? Who is it? Get out of here. If it's a man, get out of here." Ah! Raid on the eyes. What kind of hero is that? Labor and capital are not heroes and heroes in the first place. Labor and capital are like chickens. What are you doing to me? During Shan's roast, he accidentally found that the other party's movements gradually lost their organization. That messy footsteps. A state of panic. Quickly, Shan discovered a weakness in the other party. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Let's boil soup. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Let's boil soup. Shan took a deep breath, then held his breath, his body sank slightly, his center of gravity shifted downwards, and he made a posture ready to attack at any time. When the footsteps of the man in the night clothes approached him. Suddenly, Shan is moving. I saw him using all his strength to bounce himself over a meter high in place. Then, during the descent, Shan placed his two claws in front of him. As he fell freely, his two claws landed right on the crotch of the man in the night clothes. At this moment, he used the last two opportunities to release his skills from the catcher. Next second, a more brutal voice exploded from deep in the man's throat. Ah! After roaring, the man in the night clothes arched his body like a big shrimp, hugging his legs, and rolling back and forth on the ground. If it weren't for Shan's timely avoidance, he might have crushed it into a chicken cake on the spot. Looking at the active skill that suddenly disappeared in the attribute panel. It's impossible to say that you don't feel heartbroken. But compared to taking down the man in front of me, this loss is still acceptable. But just as he was hovering around, intending to strike a fatal blow, the man in night clothes suddenly bounced off the ground and flew out of the courtyard wall. Then, with the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground, Shan, who had regained his senses, realized it. There is already no one in front of me. And the man in the night clothes, who had just been furious, was now running away without looking back. Shan collapsed on the spot. This is about system rewards. What if someone runs away and the reward is gone? Without saying a word, just chase after me. There was a closed door, and by the time Shan climbed back onto the beam, the man in the night clothes had already disappeared without a trace. Fortunately, the system reward arrived as scheduled, which eased his mood a bit and he listened to the reward with peace of mind. System tip. Defeat one intermediate human at the rank of soldier, and receive 12 hours to advance to the rank of mortal, intermediate. Defeat at level 4, and receive a time reward of 4 times. System prompt. Defeat level 4 and reward attribute points, 4. System prompt. Defeat at level 1, reward is unlimited, 1. Settlement. Obtain 48 hours to advance to the mortal level, intermediate, attribute points, 4, and unlimited points, 1. What is unlimited? Sitting on the door beam, admiring the white canyon of Mount Lu, such a question flashed through my mind. Then, an emotionless prompt immediately popped up in his mind. System tip. Unlimited points refer to attribute points without restrictions, which can increase attributes, improve skill levels, and even strengthen any part of the body. So hang up like this. Can you strengthen my little brother? System prompt. Do you want to use unlimited point strengthening of the reproductive system? Just as Shan was truly amazed, another system prompt sound came out. System prompt. Due to the small size of the host's reproductive organs, energy cannot be infused at once. It can now be divided into 5 stages, with each stage separated by 3 hours. Do you agree? Shan. In the end, he decided to keep unlimited and wait until later. For now, let's allocate the attribute points. You should know that this is the first time I have obtained so many attribute points. Make sure to allocate it properly again. So, Shan added all 4 attribute points to his strength. Big Chicken dominance is faith. No transfer of love is allowed. System prompt. Due to the weak physical condition of the host, energy cannot be infused at once. It can now be divided into 10 stages, with each stage separated by 3 hours. Do you agree? Agree, system prompt. Staged perfusion begins, 1/10, immediately afterwards, a strong heat flow appeared from the heart and rushed rapidly towards the entire body. Feeling the nourishment of hot tea, Shan took some time to look at his attribute panel. Name. Shan race. Chicken bloodline. Heterotrophic chicken level. Fan, Junior, countdown to promotion. 165.38.52, strength. 2.3 physical fitness. 0.6 agility. 0.5 unlimited point. 1 talent skills. Meaty aroma. As a local chicken, it has a strong meat texture that is different from cage-raised chickens, and the taste is excellent. Iron claws. As the name suggests, iron claws are prone to rusting. Please pay attention to maintenance, a force of over 20 kilograms. I'm afraid even Tianma doesn't have such great strength. At this moment, the extremely excited Shan suddenly had the idea of fighting to the death against the Tanaka flag dog thief. But that's just a thought. According to his estimation, the combat effectiveness of Tanaka Banner's cargo is at least as advanced as that of ordinary rank. It's highly likely that one has already reached the level of military rank, otherwise how can one find a wife of military rank? Wait a minute. From the information just heard, it seems that Tanaka Chi is unaware of his wife's combat effectiveness. Tianma seems to have hidden another layer of identity. Otherwise, why would she sneak around and want to kill someone to silence her? Hu family. Fengyang Tower, the dance is unparalleled. TSK 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 TSK. Is Tanaka Banner the legendary honest man? However, are these things related to oneself? Shan just wants to find a place where he can smoothly get through his developmental period. Isn't it a trap for oneself to get involved in so many things? So he gave a fierce glance at the white canyon below, took a deep breath, turned his head, and jumped out. On the way home, Shan suddenly thought of something. I circled around on the roof and finally stopped on the roof of a large courtyard. Listen to the deafening snoring below. Shan's mouth curled up, then found the window and climbed into the house. 1 hour later. Tang Shi slowly woke up from his coma. The first reaction was to observe the surroundings with caution, and then reach out to touch one's entire body. When she realized that her body had not experienced what she had imagined, she reached out to touch her mouth and feet. After confirming that nothing really happened, she breathed a soft sigh of relief. But then I felt something was wrong. Since I have already lost my resistance. Why hasn't anything happened? Did something else happen during my own fainting? With such doubts, Tang Shi slowly stood up from the ground, looked around, and whispered. I don't know where the expert will help, please come and meet me. After a moment, when she realized that no one had responded to her, she changed her tone and whispered. Since the expert does not want to appear in person, the young woman does not demand it. I kindly ask the expert to keep this secret for the sake of the young woman's years of diligence and diligence. The little woman swore with her life that she would never do anything that would harm her husband and the entire Tian family. After speaking, Tang Shi bowed slowly to the empty surroundings. After a while, she lifted herself up and left the place directly. Be careful when returning home. Tang Shi first changed his clothes and then gently pushed open his daughter's door. Under the moonlight, I saw my daughter sleeping peacefully in bed. Such a quiet scene has calmed down the previously anxious heart. It's the strange little chicken sleeping like that, which doesn't quite match this scene. Find a time, a chance, or boil soup. Well, boiling soup is more nutritious. Tang Shi silently made a decision in his heart. Signing successful. Start 2 shifts a day. End of this chapter.